Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the panelists discussion. My name's Jonathan. I'm the lead customer success specialist here at UpGuard. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's panel discussion featuring Carlo Falciola from Exprivia Group, Juris Šmits from Rimi Baltic, and Olaf Breil from ClimatePartner. Today, we'll explore how these security leaders manage third-party risk, the lessons they've learned along the way, and the current challenges they face. Please feel free to post any questions you have for the panelists in our chat. We'll address these during the Q&A session towards the end of the discussion. To our panelists, great to have you here. Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. To kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your professional background? Juris, I'm going to start with yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, hi guys, hi everyone. My experience is basically 2 decades of sysadmin and mixed penetration tester, and then for last 5 years I'm managing technical IT security part of retail chain in the Baltics.
Nice, thank you. And Carlo?
Hi everybody, my experience is about 20 years in what was once called logical security, so basic prevention and identity management, and then now I'm managing a team of consultants doing basically the same thing, and prevention in general and cybersecurity governance.
Perfect, Carlo, thank you. And finally, Olaf.
Yes, hello everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session so far. I'm Olaf. I've been in information security now for around 25 years. The first half of that time, technical security, so firewall administration, different types of firewalls, and proxy servers, HSMs, and then I moved over to information security officer because I wanted to do it a little bit more holistically. I was another 13 to 14 years now. I'm information security officer in different companies, and now I ended up October 22 at ClimatePartner.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Olaf, if you don't mind, I'm going to continue with yourself. And I'd like to just ask, where did your third-party risk management function start?
Well, it was mainly, as many things in information security, they were compliance-driven in my case. So I've been about 15 years now, I've been with PCI DSS heavily involved in compliance of a huge data center. And at some point in time, all of a sudden the auditor asked, what are you doing about your supplier management and how do you take care of supplier risk? And I mean, being in a worldwide enterprise with a huge data center, you wouldn't believe how distributed supplier management overall was, and risk management on top of that, I think wasn't even thought about. So we started gathering suppliers, and we ended up at a low 4-digit number of suppliers relevant to our environment. And I wouldn't call that supplier risk management at that stage. It was more kind of getting an overview about how many vendors you had in your environment.
Perfect. Thank you, Olaf. And Carlo, what about yourself? What were your main priorities when it came to starting third-party risk management?
We started with UpGuard about 4 years ago, and at the very beginning it was to monitor ourselves and our exposure on the internet, and we also started to look at our partners and also to leverage the capability to help our customer to monitor them themselves. So it was quite a natural way to start to support our customers also in the direction of monitor their own partners and their own risk based on partnership and services.
Perfect. Appreciate that, Carlo. Juris, I believe when we were speaking previous with Rimi Baltic, there wasn't really a mature third-party risk management setup in place. So how have you seen that evolve over the last couple of years using UpGuard?
I think it's common as to many people in audience and my colleagues here. At some point, you just understand that how much those suppliers mean to your business, how much critical aspects they affect of it, and then obviously how much risk that creates each of those problems. And that's basically where my story started. Business wants to implement more and more solutions, and we need to manage them somehow, because obviously logistics specialist, logistics manager, or any other business area, they don't understand those technical sides that IT has plenty of, and we need to assist them somehow to manage it. So that's basically where it ends up, understanding those risks, showing them, being able to show them, and giving the tools to actually manage them.
Yeah, I think that is a very important point. Olaf, what about yourself? What do you feel an important perspective is in terms of a mature third-party risk management?
Well, in my particular case, I'm running with extremely scarce resources, my team, so I have to be very conscious where I'm spending time on. So when it comes to supplier risk management, it has to be as efficient as possible. And efficiency in that case, to me, means automation. Automation as much as you can, so that you don't need to manually dedicate time to review stuff. You should have very, very lean processes in onboarding suppliers to such a risk monitoring environment. And then ideally, the automation should take over and should notify in case it needs your attention.
Yeah, that's a great point, touching on the automation. It's definitely something that is evolving and very important. Carlo, what about yourself? What's your experience there with the mature third-party risk management?
As a system integrator, we are looking at our customer base, and in Italy we do have not so many very large company and a huge amount of small and mid company that, as Olaf just said, has difficult to cover all the roles. So we evolved in a way in order to support our customer to perform the needed task, and we also have a strong push for regulation that we will probably discuss later. And because of that, we are actively working on integrating the process of our customer in sense to evolve with the supply chain and service risk management.
Perfect. No, that's a good point, the integration side of things as well. And I think that's something that is so important. Olaf, you touched on the automation, and Carlo, the integration side of things. There are opportunities, I suppose, from third-party risk management side of things, and being able to evolve in a more efficient way. Juris, are there any other opportunities that you can identify that would be of benefit to the third-party risk management side of things?
Well, I think main ones were pretty much mentioned here by Olaf. Automation, obviously, because we tend to get more and more suppliers. At least in our business, we have them small. We have as small as a 3-5 people company, and as big names in industry like Google, Microsoft, AWS, or those. And obviously, that's a very, very different issues that each of them are facing, and getting all this in order manually is simply not possible. So of course that's a big concern. Other big concern, obviously, is, as I mentioned already, those business owners of those solutions, because that's a logistic manager that owns a particular solution, or I don't know, sales or marketing or whatever, and giving them this tool so that they can understand, is it good, is it bad, does it require attention, I think is the greatest challenge. And automation is definitely one way how to try and solve it.
Yeah, definitely makes it a big impact and have a big benefit on that. Olaf, are there any other opportunities that you have identified?
In which area or in which space?
Just in terms of third-party risk management, we've discussed the automation. Of course, there's AI as well, and then the integrations. Is there anything else that you are aware of that may be of benefit?
I mean, you just mentioned or you gave me the hint. I mean, risk management is not only monitoring your suppliers, but you have also customers who need to do the same to you. So obviously, a similar methodology and automated approach would help us tremendously, or will help us tremendously in the future in establishing trust with our customers. So that side, at the moment, it eats up a lot of our resources because of that lack of standardization. in establishing that trust. So one customer may trust on certificates, the other customer may see that as prerequisite plus doing a questionnaire. Then other customers are doing purely only questionnaire-based assessments, and nothing is standardized, nothing is formalized. And I mean, at the moment, the number of customers we are having, the number of inquiries or different types of inquiries we are having, so that is absolutely overwhelming. And I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to streamline that process.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Carlo, what about yourself? Have you any more points on that subject?
My points are basically automation, standardization, in the sense that the task is huge, because I myself experience as just Olaf said, as a provider of services to other company, that the task of obey to all those different questionnaires and different approaches and etc. It's overwhelming and time consuming, and basically what you produce is almost unusable, because when you produce an office document with 700 questions, nobody will read it. And
it's a tick box exercise.
Nobody will be able to compare two of those stuff, even 3, 4. It's not possible. And so these area cry for automation and for integration. And of course, I strongly expect that some standards will grow up in order to have more efficiency, also in reusing the material from the customer, from what we work with customer. Of course, this kind of automation is very important. I strongly suggest to start from day 0 with automation, and also it's very important to be able to integrate these needs, this risk management in many areas of the target company, because it becomes part of purchasing process, it becomes part of quality control, etc. And those are all function of the organization that since now probably didn't have any real contact with the topics. And now this is something that needs to be analyzed, worked with these different subjects, and integrated in their own process, in the smoothest and the more cheapest approach.
Yeah, definitely not. Some great points in there, Carlo, especially starting automation. I think from day 0 is a key, I think, to getting things going and getting the process up and running. We touched on, obviously, the opportunity that we have with the likes of automation, AI, and integrations. Of course, with opportunity comes challenges as well. Olaf, in terms of challenges when managing third-party risks, what are the most significant challenges you've come across?
Well, it is from one side, it is the follow-up of the findings. I mean, how do you reasonably follow up if Microsoft drops down on the risk level from whatever 800 to 750? So what are you going to do about it? So coming up with a reasonable approach to that, I think is pretty challenging, because, to be honest with you, at the moment we are doing it case by case. So we're getting the alerts automatically thanks to UpGuard, but then how we following that one up, pretty case by case and ad hoc. Because with Microsoft, I don't spend time on following that one up because it will lead to nothing. Similar thing probably with kind of like companies like AWS, etc. So it really depends on the relation to the vendor and obviously the criticality of the vendor. Now, I mean, probably Microsoft and AWS are the most critical vendors in our space. Nevertheless, I feel nearly no chance to follow up reasonably. So that is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I think that is something that has definitely come up before. Juris, would you be of the same opinion? Have you any other challenges that you've come across?
Yeah, obviously, I would totally agree with Olaf that following up security score drop at Microsoft is not the best way how you can spend the time. At the same time, the more vendors you get, especially in the startup world, they are very unaware of IT security side of things very often, and that's where you are actually where this solution and ability to quantify it and constantly monitor their security posture is actually that adds value, because once you start poking that vendor, and if the vendor obviously is security aware, yeah, some of them just say we don't care about it, well, then that's your choice whether you want to work with them. But those who do, they are quite thankful for an ability that we sometimes point out things of open ports, open services, something not being patched, or something that affects even our business. That definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, it is something that customers do regularly come across and kind of inform us, how do we get in touch? Have you tried any different strategies or solutions to get in touch with vendors that haven't been responsive?
I think at some point you just you end up with looking up who's responsible for particular vendor and particular agreement, and you approach the legal way, because there is like really no other way. And unfortunately, even that not always works, because the vendor is so big and they are so powerful that they don't care practically about that one client, and that quite often raises some big concerns that big name companies don't care about security. That's sad, simply sad.
Yeah, good point. Olaf, what about yourself?
Yeah, I can just buy into what Juris said. It is pretty difficult, and Juris, from what I understood, is that you sometimes hand over the information to your colleagues who hold the vendor contract, right, and ask them to follow up. And probably they just have totally other things in mind. They have probably totally other problems they're tackling, so they don't even think about or bother about talking to the vendor now about the risk the security guy told them. I guess that the decentralization of the vendor management is definitely a major challenge of streamlining the processes. No, I mean, it remains challenging how to follow that one up.
Yeah, definitely is something to we could be here all day, I think, coming up
Yeah.
with ideas and solutions for that. Moving on, Carlo, I'd like to ask, do you think that businesses of all sizes should invest in a third-party risk management solution?
Definitely yes, in the sense that, as I just said, in Italy we have a lot of small companies that basically will rely a lot on partnership and services, and have to, even from us. So you need to have an idea on the level of security. It makes sense. Then on the other side, there is also a strong push from regulation. The European community is producing a lot of regulation. One is DORA for the finance, one is NIS2 for the rest of the market, and those regulation has strong points on third-party management. And of course, one of our tasks is to explain to our customer why they have to trust and really implement this solution, because it's they are part in a chain of responsibility, and they, in one sense, they could not relay all the responsibility to the partner, and because of that, they have to choose wisely which one and how to interact with them. And the price is not anymore the only point of evaluation. And I think that a good management of the risk and how to reach quotation of value or monetary value for the risk that is not trivial in cybersecurity, definitely, would be a very, very important point in this point.
Definitely. And Juris, what about yourself? What do you think? Do you think all businesses, all sizes, should invest in a third-party risk management solution?
I'm very, very free looking at this. That's entirely the decision of the business. If business wants to drive a car using squared wheels, they are by very means welcome to do so. My job is to make them aware that it will be uncomfortable, unpleasant, but if they decide that we will go with square wheels, that's at the end of the business decision, because I'm here for the business, not business for me as security function. But of course, seriously looking, it's your risks, and it solely depends on your risk appetite. If you are a gambler, of course you can neglect a lot of things and come dry out of water. Sometimes, on other cases, it can get really bad, really ugly, and really fast. And we have plenty of examples around the world. So I don't think neglecting completely this area of third-party risk management is an option, really. Question is, how much do you invest on it and how much do you spend on it?
Yeah, no, some very good points there. I think, driving a car with square wheels, you'd be in for a bumpy ride. So it's a good way to sum it up. All right. Olaf, what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the term all companies, I definitely answer is no. Yeah, because there will be companies who have bigger fish to fry in the beginning, right? They may be struggling financially, they may establish the business. And I would think that there are at the moment, probably at that stage, more important things to tackle. However, once a company has established a reasonable digital footprint, whatever that is, if they handle a reasonable amount of data or even customer data, obviously in the world today where you are outsourcing so many things to cloud providers, you should at least think of your suppliers, get an overview, and I think then we're already entering the stage of supplier risk management, understanding what you're having, understanding what could impose a risk of these outsourcing activities. And that's where I would say when a company is at that stage, then the answer is yes, you should think about your vendors. And that implies risk management.
Yes, very interesting points there.
Obviously, it's a business decision at the end, whether they want to spend the money. In my case, I was happy that they said yes, but they could have said no. And then it's also a business decision. Absolutely.
Yeah. Of course. I think that's one of the benefits of being able to utilize UpGuard. There's so many different packages for customers from a small side of things up until large. So it depends on whatever they're looking to do. They can do that. We can implement that for them. Moving on, and Carlo, I'd like to start with yourself. You did bring up some regulatory opinions there a couple of minutes ago. From your kind of experience and perspective, have any regulatory changes prompted you to adjust your approach to third-party risk management? And if so, can you share an example?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the two main regulations that we have in Europe right now are DORA, that is focused on financial, and in that area, basically, we have two different layers of implementation. The large organizations are already set on these topics, maybe not completely fulfilling or total implementation, but they already have thought about that. But there are many FinCom or also in the insurance area in which a lot of things need to be done. And there is also, I think, in that sense, the need for the organization to start to realize how much of their being in life depends on services and partnership and provider and whatever that are not anymore in their own house, in their own environment. I think it's a consciousness moment that will need to happen. And when you realize that your vital depends on someone else, and so you need to understand that you have to choose wisely and put a lot of attention at many levels on that. Is, as I said, not only the money. Then for the rest of the market, the new regulation that will be appear next year, more or less, but has been already almost finalized from European community level, is the NIS2. That is the second release of the NIS regulation that was out in 2018, and as the big changes are basically two. One is that they put a completely revolutionary approach in terms of fines, much more similar to the one of GDPR. So some level of fines that you cannot forget about anymore as an organization. Definitely. And the second point is that the spread of the organization that is much wider. And the original version was basically focused on large utilities, large provider, whatever. Now is much more wider. How much is something that is still in discussion, but for example, in some area like healthcare, everybody that does healthcare is in the focus. So
perfect. That's great. Appreciate that, Carlo. Olaf, have you any interesting thoughts on that question?
Yes, I mean, that is a topic which caught my attention rather recently. And the thought I was having is, how could I, in order to reduce the amount of workload combined with inbound security questionnaires, what can I do about that? And it's not only me, it is really companies you're talking to, they all feel the same pain. And I think one of the probably major facilitators would be publishing your security information on the web. Now, how are you doing that? And in a pretty lean and automated manner. And I think this is where platforms like UpGuard definitely could help. If I would process inbound security questionnaires via UpGuard in the future and collect sort of intelligence there, ideally I could publish that information then also on our webpage, and giving our prospects and customers the option to review themselves what we are doing about security. And I see that coming up more and more in my vendor assessment. So when people in our company want to engage with a supplier, they need to approach me and I'll do an initial risk assessment. And what am I looking first? I'm looking first on their website, checking whether they have a security or trust center. And these trust centers, in my impression, and that may be totally subjective, they are popping up now like mushrooms. In the beginning, OpenAI was pretty impressed about their trust center, and then I said, well, they probably have a good founding as well. But then also other companies came up with very structured information about what they are having in terms of certification, about processes, even their security programs, etc. And this is definitely where a platform like UpGuard could help us doing that job.
Yeah, definitely. Not some very important and good points in there. I think definitely the UpGuard Trust Exchange is definitely going to be of benefit down the road for adding security documentation and being able to manage and share that as well. So something definitely to keep an eye out on. Juris, what is your own opinion on this?
Yeah, how to say, the original question about that Carlos already answered about that regulation and NIS2. I find it really good because that makes some actual basis, how to say, to remind other parties that this is, guys, you also need to be compliant with this. And before that, there were vendors who said, "Oh, we don't care, we don't worry." So it's your decision whether you want or not to work with them. Yeah, that's one side. Second side that Olaf also touched. Yeah, those how to say, clear and concise information of what you have and what you are doing, if it's available on the website. That's great. However, it's as with some certifications and everything else. Yeah, in ISO 27K, you need to look at scope, and only then you understand what actually is ISO 27K compliant. If it's the whole company, great. If it's small subsidiary or small entity, then it's probably not the same. So that's one side. Second side, I think a big step has been moved forward with all these platforms like UpGuard, that are able to score your public infrastructure and give you at least a hint of where you stand. Because if you can manage your public, probably you are doing something to your internal processes as well. If you can't manage the public, might be not many surprises what happens inside. And obviously the ability to monitor this change, which comes as a big question or challenge. Once you have 10 vendors you can manage manually, hundreds of them, no way. It's nice to receive those alerts that this score has changed, and then you think, what can you do about it, with reasonable time and resources at hand. So yeah, overall, it's nice that that legal basis for it and requirements are forcing those businesses who don't want to care about security to at least give it some thought.
Of course. Yeah, definitely some interesting points there touched on. Olaf, in terms of advice, what is one piece of advice that you'd give to companies at different stages of their third-party risk management journey, from those that are just starting out to those looking to optimize their existing functions?
Well, two different areas. One group, these companies were just starting their journey in supplier risk management. The advice would be, make it simple. Yeah, make it as simple as possible so that you can manage it in the first place. You have enough time then, or if you have, then if you're feeling bored, you can always improve. But don't start to complicate in the beginning. At least you have something in place, and then you can just challenge it via the plan, do, check, act cycle. Is it okay? No, then let's improve it iteratively. And the other companies who are already further down the road, I guess I would just give the advice of look into your automation. Instead of spending time on manual efforts, probably spend that time on improving the automation. I think that will pay off much more than anything else.
Yeah, appreciate that. Perfect. Okay, so I want to jump into some of the questions from the viewers. If you are watching live and have a question for our panelists, please share them in the chat. And I'm going to start with some that we've already been sent through. So first question is from Michael Kushk. And Michael asks, based on your experience, how willing or unwilling are vendors to share security-related information on a platform like UpGuard? Olaf, I'd like to start with you first.
Yeah, I think at the moment, probably they are a bit hesitant. They think they could hide what they're doing about security. But like I said before, I guess that'll become pretty quickly a competitive disadvantage if they continue doing that. So I guess there is a big momentum towards sharing that information. Whether that's then on the webpage or in tools like UpGuard, I think is a secondary question.
Yeah, no, it's some good information, definitely. Carlo, what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mostly agree on. I see a lot of hesitation and a lot of fear, but I'm also confident that this will change very soon as there were some actors that will be proud to publish his own posture in terms of security, etc., and then will become very, very difficult to keep this kind of position of obscurity on something that is almost available for everybody.
Definitely. And Juris, what do you think would be a good answer, I suppose, there?
Yeah, I would say that the beauty of their public facing infrastructure is that you don't need to ask the permission. You just enter the company name or the domain and you have the score. And then you can review it and act or don't act on it. The darker side or the shady side of it, of course, is internal infrastructure. And from my previous experience as a penetration tester / IT auditor for over a decade, I have seen a lot of companies, and I know for sure that not everything that looks a pretty cake is a tasty cake inside, and vice versa. So I think there is a second side of it, how to measure or how to ensure that internal processes, internal thing of orders, and is that in line as well. So I think that's where how to say, legislative bodies such as European Union or others can help with their regulations and some kind of compliance requirements. Yeah, same as PCI DSS does it in banking and payment card industry. Yeah, same as some financial related requirements in UK or locally in countries that also sometimes touch insurance and everything. They are there for over a decade, and that has helped to lower down the amount of incidents. We just need to repeat the same thing and a bit better in other industries.
Nice. Definitely is a very, very good information. Just to, I suppose, finish up there, last question, Olaf, for yourself. What was your biggest takeaway from the discussion today?
Well, I'm just getting confirmation that everybody is feeling the same pain. The what I always call the establishment of trust between business partners remains problematic, and that's why I think there's also a lot of opportunities for vendors like UpGuard to facilitate. Obviously, like in any other area, we would appreciate standards so that we can sync across different vendors, such trust establishment initiatives. But it remains a very interesting topic, and yeah, that's what I can say at the moment.
Perfect. Appreciate that. And Carlo, what about your own opinion on this?
I mean, my opinion is that we are living in a moment of transition, and because of regulation, because of the matter of fact, this will be common sense in not so long time, I think. And I mean, we are not getting any information that are not required by anybody. We just take a look of the outface of the already exposed on the internet. So nothing more, nothing less than the color of the web page, in a way. So
Perfect.
that's
your point. Excellent.
yeah, it's more or less, maybe company will need to spend a little bit less in very tall buildings and a little bit more on the
Security. Yeah, definitely not a bad idea.
Basically, because people could see both of them, so the judgment will be on both sides.
Yeah, of course. Juris, in a couple of sentences, how would you sum up the conversation today?
Yeah, I would say obviously the industry has the same problems, and that's where I totally agree with Olaf, that some standards would help to ease them. At the same time, we have found at least tools that help in our daily work and simplify it, such as platform where we are currently, that at least speeds up and automates some of processes and make them a bit more smooth. So I think that's the best that we can do. Find a tool that helps our cause and use it whatever it is.
Perfect. That's definitely a good way to sum it up. That's it for the discussion. So I'd like to thank our panelists for your time and insights today. Very insightful. It's been a pleasure chatting with you all. And thank you to everyone who's been watching today. We hope to see you again at the next summit.